He keeps coming forward.
Down again, I think the right hand, and he landed a punch when he was on the floor there.
And here it come now.
Jake Paul just took the biggest L of his career, and it didn't even happen inside a boxing ring. The much-hyped matchup with Anthony Joshua has been scrapped after AJ demanded full professional boxing rules instead of the exhibition-style setups Jake usually relies on. And the moment those rules were announced, what was supposed to be Jake's career-defining moment instantly flipped into a harsh reality check, exposing nerves, vulnerability, and the truth behind the hype harder than any punches ever taken.
Well, if this is a real, legitimate fight, Jake Paul is absolutely crazy. If not crazy, he's super brave. And it'll be interesting to see.
It hit the boxing world like a smack to the jaw. One moment Jake Paul was talking up the biggest matchup of his entire career, and the next he was lying flat on the canvas of public opinion, dropped without Anthony Joshua even lifting a glove. The outrage came instantly, and the criticism was relentless. And the embarrassment? It rolled in like waves during a storm. Because this wasn't some routine fight cancellation. This was Jake Paul stepping right up to the biggest shot he'd ever been handed, then turning around and bolting before the first bell could sound. Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua.
Now, boxing. Anthony Joshua is going to take on the YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul in a professional bout in Miami.
Jake Paul deluded enough to think it was a good option to get in the ring with Anthony Joshua.
Everyone recognized exactly what it was. The whole storyline flipped overnight. Fans who were hyping him up just days before suddenly turned on him without mercy. The backlash stung harder than any right hand Jake has ever eaten, because deep down everyone understood this wasn't really about paperwork or negotiations. This was about fear. Not fear of taking a clean shot. Jake's taken plenty. This was the fear of what happens when the spotlight can't shield you anymore, and a true elite fighter steps into the picture.
We just want to see it because there's a lot of hate out here on influencer boxing. A lot of people have got different opinions on boxing these days. But I want to ask you.
The wildest part is that none of this mess was even meant to happen. Jake was originally preparing for a flashy exhibition against Gervonta Tank Davis on November 15th in Miami. Big names, big buzz, minimal real risk. The classic Jake Paul setup. But the entire plan collapsed the moment Davis was hit with new domestic violence allegations and a civil lawsuit. Legally and publicly, the fight was dead on arrival. And Jake, scrambling to keep his momentum from dying with it, made the mistake that flipped the whole story upside down. He tried leveling up his opponent, and somehow ended up leveling up way too far.
It can happen in a variety of ways, various ways, but
Joshua is big, heavy puncher, but not as evasive. So I think if Jake has the right game plan, he has a pretty good shot of winning this fight.
Because out of nowhere, in walks Anthony Joshua. Not some influencer riding a wave of hype, not a YouTuber chasing views, not a retired MMA vet shuffling in for a paycheck, but a man who does not entertain exhibitions. A man whose record is so vicious it makes casual fans stop scrolling mid-swipe. Joshua has blasted out 25 of the 28 opponents he's defeated. An insane 89% knockout rate that feels less like a stat and more like a warning carved in stone. He's a two-time unified heavyweight champion, first claiming world titles in 2016, and an Olympic gold medalist from London 2012. The kind of resume that turns a simple fight announcement into a full-blown earthquake.
All of that power is great, and he's knocked people out. I just have to avoid that one shot for 8 rounds, and I believe that I can do that.
When Joshua's name landed on the negotiation table, every boxing insider reacted the exact same way. Jake had just wandered straight into a lion's cage with no way out. Because this wasn't about slipping punches anymore. This was about standing in front of a walking, talking institution of heavyweight boxing. A man who has gone through battles with Vladimir Klitschko, dismantled Otto Wallin, and flattened Robert Helenius with the kind of accuracy that turns slow-motion replays into viral clips. Every ounce of his experience, every bit of his power, and every drop of that calm, unshakable composure he carries is a weapon on its own. And Joshua wasn't sugarcoating anything. If Jake wanted this matchup, he'd have to enter a ring where every single round could potentially end his career. No gimmicks, no edits, no safety nets.
You've got to be in it to win it, and AJ was in the right place to maximize the opportunity around him, and he has defined a sensational legacy.
What are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua because he's just going to go all out for them 8.
That's when the doubts began to surface. Reports emerged that Jake started asking for softer terms, exhibition-style rules, minor tweaks, any adjustment that might lessen the risk. But Joshua rejected every single request. He didn't compromise. He didn't make concessions. For the first time in his career, Jake was up against a fighter he couldn't bend, mold, or tailor to fit his content-driven persona.
Jake's a good novice.
Oh, yeah.
And if he wanted to have a legitimate career in boxing, then he would climb the domestic rankings in America, and he might even make top 50.
And that's when the online chatter turned ruthless. People noticed it. They could sense the hesitation, the doubt, the lost confidence, the swagger slipping away. Everything vanished in an instant. Suddenly, the same crowd that had fueled Jake's rise was turning on him, tearing him apart for stepping back from a fight he had loudly hyped into being.
The contest is a professional bout and will go on the boys' records. But that being said, this is heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen.
So when the fight was officially called off, fans didn't need an official statement or explanation. They got it instantly. They saw the signs clearly. Jake Paul, the self-styled disruptor of boxing, had been taken down, not by Joshua's fists, but by the stark reality of facing a legitimate heavyweight in a true professional setting. And Joshua didn't have to throw a single punch. He simply showed up, and Jake's bravado crumbled.
I will be shutting you the fuck up and making you eat your own words.
The unraveling began the second Jake Paul realized Anthony Joshua wasn't entering this fight like some sideshow act. Behind closed doors, Jake's confidence didn't just falter, it completely collapsed. On camera, he kept up the usual sunglasses and smirk routine, spouting the same pre-fight lines he always recycles. But away from the spotlight, the bravado disappeared almost instantly. Sources in the negotiation room said Jake froze the moment he saw Joshua's contract terms. That alone landed harder than any punches ever taken, because for the first time, he couldn't hide behind his influencer bubble.
A professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. When I beat Anthony Joshua, every doubt will disappear. He's talking to you, Charlamagne.
Okay.
Jake's team immediately went into damage control, pushing for changes that basically read, "Please don't let our guy get hurt." Bigger gloves, exhibition-style pacing, anything to make it feel less like a true fight and more like a staged event. But Joshua crushed every request with the calm authority of someone who's faced actual killers in the ring. No yelling, no trash talk, just a simple, firm refusal. No head go, no soft punches, no shortcuts. That quiet, controlled confidence rattled Jake far more than any insult ever could. This was a far riskier fight than facing Gervonta Tank Davis, yet somehow less winnable than the same. Suddenly, Jake's usual loudmouth energy disappeared. The guy who normally floods social media with 20 stories a day barely said a word. No hype, no trash talk, no fake bravado, just an eerie wall of panic. And right on cue, his camp started leaking legal issues to the press. Whenever Jake wants a way out, the word legal always appears like smoke in the air. They needed time. They needed a cover story. Because the reality was brutal. Jake didn't want a real fight against a man whose punches have knocked out the likes of Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane.
Be the same for all of us, you know. Honestly, all of us, many a greats have walked it before. All of the undercard are going to walk it. I'm going to walk it. I'm going to feel just like any of them. But when I step into that ring, that's when I switch on and I'm ready. So
meanwhile, Anthony Joshua was operating on a completely different level. While Jake's camp was running around like interns trying to fix a crashed presentation, Joshua was locked in as if he were preparing for a world title defense. He kept making it clear, if he stepped into the ring, it would be with the same intensity he brings to championship fights. That alone sent a mental jolt through Jake's team. This wasn't just any heavyweight. Joshua is the man who KO'd Ngannou in 2 rounds, destroyed Otto Wallin so decisively the corner had to throw in the towel, leveled Robert Helenius with a single punch that resonated through the arena, and endured a legendary battle with Klitschko, a fight Jake has probably only watched on low-res YouTube. This is a fighter who has faced giants, men whose fists hit like wrecking balls. Jake Paul, on the other hand, comes from a world where boxers pause between rounds for bathroom breaks and selfies.
But it's a more winnable fight than Gervonta Tank Davis.
Every boxing analyst gave the same verdict without hesitation. Jake wouldn't hear the final bell. He wouldn't last 6 rounds. Some even predicted he wouldn't make it past 2. And the most intimidating part? Joshua didn't need to talk trash to rattle him. He arrived with a calm, almost icy presence that screamed, "I'm not here for games. I'm here to get the job done." That's the energy of someone who's competed at the very top of the sport. Someone whose danger doesn't come from theatrics. And that quiet, controlled authority terrified Jake far more than any insults ever could.
I think that it's a hopeless and potentially dangerous mismatch.
So I think AJ will struggle because it is an all-win situation. If he goes in there, Jake Paul lasts the distance. What does he tell you about AJ? Apart from he's just earned an extra 15 million quid.
And that's when Jake fell back on his usual playbook. The moment the situation stopped feeling safe, he tried to rewrite the entire plan. Suddenly, he was asking for bigger gloves, shorter rounds, exhibition-style clauses, pacing changes for content, and even special control over the footage, as if he were producing a Netflix special instead of stepping into the most important fight of his career. The leaks from negotiations were cringeworthy, like someone trying to bring ring lights and sponsorship deals into a battlefield. Joshua's team didn't entertain any of it. Their message was simple: a real fight, or no fight at all. That's when promoters quietly saw the truth. Jake wasn't negotiating to fight, he was negotiating to get out. The pattern was all too familiar. Complaints, legal threats, dramatic leaks, victim narratives. The entire checklist of excuses that always appear whenever Jake realizes is taken on more than he can handle.
Well, by the sounds of it, there's 50 million reasons why Anthony Joshua's taking this fight. In my head, I never ever thought this fight would happen. Why? Because of Anthony Joshua's desire to be in the history books, to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. To me, it shows me his desire.
Beneath all the chaos, the reality was crystal clear. Jake Paul wasn't ready for Anthony Joshua, not physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Joshua wasn't stepping in to make viral clips or boost influencer boxing. He was coming to take Jake Paul out of that world completely. And Jake understood that signing those contracts meant putting his pride on the line. That's why he hesitated. That's why he hid. That's why the whole situation fell apart. For the first time, Jake wasn't just facing a fighter. He was facing a nightmare in the ring.
A professional heavyweight fight against an elite world champion in his prime. When I beat Anthony Joshua, every doubt will
The story didn't begin here. Just days earlier, the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight had everyone talking. Social media was ablaze, YouTube was trending, and boxing insiders were already debating whether Jake could even last a single round.
10-ounce gloves, heavyweight, Jake Paul can punch hard, but do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not, mate.
The surface, the story was straightforward. Legal complications, domestic violence allegations against Davis, a civil lawsuit, paperwork issues. These were the official reasons the fight, originally set for November 2025, disappeared from the schedule. But anyone paying attention could sense the truth behind the legal smoke. This wasn't about courts or contracts. It was painfully, undeniably awkward. Jake Paul was terrified, and not the normal pre-fight nerves. This was full-blown, sweat-upon panic the moment he realized exactly who he had agreed to step into the ring with.
Jake fought a guy who was his age and was also considered a boxer, and he lost.
That's a scary one for fighters too, because there's something about fighters are adrenaline junkies that like to be pumped up, and
like they're suing me for something I didn't do. They're suing me for something I didn't do. Like, on God, it's just the most bullshit thing, and I literally had to pay them a lot of fucking money.
And I think if you were to pause there and ask most people, what do you think he's going to answer? What do you think a fighter would answer to this? We would probably expect things like, I want to prove that I still got it. I want to prove that.
A boxer, and he lost.
He has made a significant impact on the sport of boxing. He has certainly brought new eyes to the sport. He's done so much in uplifting women's boxing.
Tank's team is now fighting back, and they're stating that Netflix did not, in fact, cancel the bout.
So he's going to go into that event very calm and very composed. And I fully believe that he does 100% think he's going to beat Anthony Joshua, yes.
So the glory, there's probably not much glory in it, apart from the haters of Jake Paul to say, right, I've got rid of this kid. I think it's very brave of Jake Paul. So now the problem child has got us to believe this fight's actually happening. So now you've got our attention.
Be the same for all of us, you know. Honestly, all of us, many greats have walked it before. All of the undercard are going to walk it. I'm going to walk it. I'm going to feel just like any of them. But when I step into that ring, that's when I switch on, when I'm ready. So